Okay, everyone, welcome back to Breslov Efrat, here in Eretz Yisrael, Baruch Hashem and Efrat. Erev Shabbos Kodesh, Parsha Chanan, Shabbos Nachamu, Baruch Hashem. Wow. Oh, we made it. We made it to the Nachamu Ami. Yomer Lekeichem. There's so many things on the Parsha. This Parsha Chanan is there's so much material, so much in that Parsha, it's unbelievable. Right? We have the idea of Tefillah with Moshe Rabbeinu, and we have the Aseres Adibras, and the Moshe Rabbeinu divides up the three cities, right? Unbelievable. And we have Kriya Shema, right? Kriya Shema, right? Well, it's a very filled Parsha, and Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu really teaches us how to daven. And I'll share one thing with you, something that's really remarkable on the Parsha, to understand something about who really Moshe Rabbeinu was, really to give us a new appreciation of what a true leader really is. And then we say we need a real leader. What happened was this: every year in the desert, after the Meraglim, after the spies, right in the beginning of the journey, and when it came to Tisha B'Av, so everyone would dig, these people, anyone that was from the age of 20 to 60 would dig a grave, and they would lie down in the grave on Tisha B'Av. And they would get up in the morning, okay. If they didn't get up in the morning, they buried them, right? That's what they did every year. They did that every year. This final year was now the 40th year, and they did the same thing. But in the morning, everyone got up. Nobody died. So they all looked at each other and they said, you know what? We must have made a mistake in the date. Must not have been Tisha B'Av. You know what? We'll try this again tonight. So the night of the 10th, they lie down in their graves, and in the morning they all got up again. They said, "Nah, okay, we really must." So they did the same thing on the 11th, and on the 12th, and on the 13th, on the 14th. Now it came to the 15th. They looked up at the moon, and they said, "Wait a second. It can't be we made a mistake. It's a full moon now. You know, on the 15th, the moon is full. Tu B'Av. Shabbos is Tu B'Av, right? We have Shabbos is Tu B'Av. This is when it happened. So they all looked at each other and they said, well, we're all here. Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu, everybody here is going to go into Eretz Yisrael, except for you. Could you imagine that? HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe, you ever feel left out? Do you ever feel left out of anything? Could you imagine Moshe Rabbeinu? His whole mission was, I want to go to Eretz Yisrael, right? So he starts to daven to Hashem, the Vos Chanan, right? 515 tefillas. The question is, like we spoke about it yesterday, I mentioned to you, when did he daven? What happened? So Moshe Rabbeinu was davening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the matnas chinam, right? Rashi says, Vos Chanan is from the word chinam, right? It comes from the word chinam. Davening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the matnas chinam, he has a place up in Shemayim that we keep talking about, the Yam HaChochma. This place is the place of the free gifts. This is what we keep talking about. I want to tap into that. Now, Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu when he starts to daven, he says to him, I'll tell you what. You know, I forgave the Jewish people at the sin of the golden calf. So Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, so, you know, do you remember what you said at that time when it came to the golden calf? So Moshe Rabbeinu says, yeah. Moshe Rabbeinu came to Hashem with not a complaint, but he came to with a question. He says, you made a neder, you made a promise that I and Aharon would not be able to go into Eretz Yisrael. That's what you said, Hashem, right? You said that, right? But the rule of a neder is, if half of the neder is batal, is nullified, it doesn't exist, so then the other half should just be canceled. So Hashem, the fact that Aaron died, and it was I and Aharon that can't go into Eretz Yisrael, so then, hey, he's dead. So now I can go in. Then Hashem says to Noah, let's go back to the golden calf. What happened by the golden calf? Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu at that time, find me 10 tzaddikim. Remember he told Avram Avinu, find the people over there in Siddim, right? He said to Moshe Rabbeinu, find me 10 tzaddikim and I will forgive the Jewish people for the golden calf. So Moshe Rabbeinu is looking to find 10 tzaddikim, but only find 7. He only can find 7. He can't find 10. So he says, Rabbi Shem, Zechoris Avraham, Yitzchak, Yisrael Avadecha. Remember Hashem, Avram Avinu? Remember Avram Avinu, Yitzchak Avinu, Yaakov Avinu. Remember them? He says to Hashem, you know that tzaddikim, the misasam, akruyim, chayim. The tzaddikim, when they pass away, they're still alive. So Hashem, count Avram Avinu, Yitzchak Avinu, Yaakov Avinu, and then we have 10. Hashem said, okay, I accept that. Now Hashem brings us back to Moshe Rabbeinu. He says, okay, you came to me with this question now that Aharon passed away, so therefore the decree should be canceled, and you should be able to go into Eretz Yisrael, right? Because half the thing was, so then you should go in. So Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu, okay, if that's the case, then I have to then cancel my forgiveness for the Jewish people on the golden calf. Because your whole principle that I gave you, that I agreed to forgive them, was because you said that tzaddikim, while they're passed away, they are still considered alive. Your brother was a tzaddik. Aaron HaKohen was a big tzaddik. We learned about him just yesterday, right? We're learning about Aaron HaKohen. He's a big tzaddik. So what, are you going to tell me he's dead? He's alive. No, so Moshe Rabbeinu said, no, don't cancel the forgiveness of the Jewish people on the golden calf. I accept. A true leader. He cares for the people, not for himself. If we only had a leader like that today, that a leader would care for the people and not worry about themselves. Moshe Rabbeinu wanted more than anything to go into Eretz Yisrael. He said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he said, Evra no. Evra no, he said 2 times, Evra no. So they asked, why does he use the word Evra no? He said that the Yarden was 50 amas wide. The Yarden, the water, it's 50 amas. Moshe Rabbeinu says, give me 1 amma in Eretz Yisrael. No, 50, Aleph, 1. Give me 1 amma. 1 amma, it's not that big, right? Not that big. Give me 1 amma. Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu, no. Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu says to Hashem, okay, Hashem, hey, wait a second. If I can't go into Eretz Yisrael as a leader, fine. I'll go into Eretz Yisrael as a peasant. Yeshua will be the leader, and I'll go in. I don't care. I don't have to be a leader. I just want to go in. No. Moshe Rabbeinu says to him, I'll tell you what, Hashem. Maybe I could make me a bird, and I'll be able to be Peireach, I'll be able to fly in Eretz Yisrael? No. And then he says, fine, okay. How about I die here, and they'll carry my bones into Eretz Yisrael, the same way they're taking the Shvatim, Yosef, and they'll take my bones and they'll bury me in Eretz Yisrael. Hashem said no. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable to understand Moshe Rabbeinu, his tshuka, his yearning to come into Eretz Yisrael in the worst way. It's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. But you also see in the Parsha that we always have to do what we have to do, right? We have to do our part in Mikayim, a mitzvah, whatever you can. Because Moshe Rabbeinu understood that until you have the 6 Arei Miklat set up, right? You'd have to be 6 of them. They're not in effect, right? You need all of them to be set up to be into effect. But he still set up 3 Me'ever Layardin on the other side, in the place of Sichon and Oig, right? And the Amorim, right? He set up on the eastern bank of the Yarden, the Jordan River. He set up the Arei Miklat, even though they weren't in effect. It didn't matter. He said, I'm doing my part, what I can do. This is what we're learning in Likutey Halachos, right? Do what I can do. Even I can't accomplish, okay, I'll do what I can do. Moshe Rabbeinu was unbelievable. The things we learned from him, and his love for Klal Yisrael, which was greater than his love that he even had for himself. It says, "Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamoicha." Love your friend like yourself. He loved his friend, he loved Klal Yisrael more than he loved himself. And you see that. He could have said, you know what? Okay, good. You know, I had nothing to do with the golden calf. So what? Fine, I want to go into Eretz Yisrael now. Too bad on them. No. He gives up his chance to go into Eretz Yisrael with his svara. With his svara that tzaddikim, even afilu b'misasam kruyim chayim. Unbelievable. That's the beauty of Moshe Rabbeinu, a true leader. Does anyone ever say anything on that? You accept that? Did you ever hear that before, Abshal? No. Does it make sense? Huh? Yeah. Okay. Baruch Hashem. Okay, now we're going to go to Likutey Halachos. That's what we came to learn, Baruch Hashem. Likutey Halachos, Hilchos Netilas Yadayim. We're in Halacha Vav, and today we're up to letter Samach Aleph, which is 61. Okay. So we learned all these beautiful ideas before. These ideas of to understand the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. Eze Chacham, right? Aloymid Mikol Adam. Ezu Asher Sameach Bechelkoi, right? Ezu Gibor Hakovish Es Yitzray. Remember all these beautiful things, and Rav Nosson connected them all together, the 4 things together, showing us how every Jew is so important. Every Jew is special, and we just have to know that and believe that. You never look at a Jew and say, well, I don't like the way he looks. I don't like the way he davens. I don't like the way he this. No. Look at the neshama inside. There's beauty in each and every single person. Okay, we have to really believe that, and we have to know when we honor a Jew, we're honoring Hashem. That's amazing. You honor a Jew, it's honoring Hashem. Because every Jew has the chelik and haneshama inside them, which is a chelik elikam imal, which is a part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu inside them. And because they have the neshama inside them, when you honor that Jew, you're honoring HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, so that's where we were. Now we're going to go back. Now he says, now we're going to learn more about the actual washing your hands, and we're going to learn about the bread itself. And now we're going to learn a beautiful concept of today of why it's so important to have salt. Right? We're going to learn about salt, melach, why it's so important to have salt. And here we go. Samach Aleph 61, and everyone's looking inside. Lahavi melach ala shulchan. The Shulchan Aruch says that you have to have salt on your table. Okay? Velitbol perusos hamoitzi bamelach, and dip your bread into the salt. Now, see, a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people, they take their salt shaker and they dump it onto the, we don't know, it says litbol. right? We have to be toivel it, right? Litbol, right? You have to dip it into it, the same way we do the dipping on the Seder, right? We dip into it. You don't dump the salt water on top of the potato or your piece of parsley, whatever it is. You dip it into it. So too is the melech, we're dipping into it. There's a reason, one of the reasons for that is, a deeper reason is because the bread itself is considered chesed. The bread is considered chesed. The salt is considered din. Okay? Salt is judgment. Bread is chesed. Sweet, nice, delicious. So what we do is we take the bread and we dip it into the salt in order to mitigate the judgment. Right? We want to mitigate the judgment. We want to lower the judgment, so we dip the bread into the salt. That mitigates the judgment. Okay. Kikvar mevayesh achila b'kedusha hi bechinas hiskashris v'chlali asaylam ma'isel yoinim b'tachtoinim sheheim bechinas kuf v'nefesh. We already learned this concept many, many times, that whenever we're eating, we're connecting the upper world together with the lower world. The fact of I'm eating is a connection of both worlds together. But now we're going to see an amazing way how we're actually connecting both worlds together. This is going to be so amazing. Amidst Hashem. Ba'al kain, tzrichen li zoher. Look at this. You have to be very careful. Tzrichen li zoher. Be very careful. Lohavi melach ala su'uda, to have salt at the suda. You need to bring salt. You have to have salt on the table. Why? Ki ikar is kashrus v'kloliyas. Because if you want to join the two worlds together, you need to have salt. It's very interesting, right? I need to have salt. Did you ever hear it's such an important thing to have salt? Did you know that, Rav David? Did you know it was so important?
Sure.
What?
I mean, I've learned this before.
You learn, no, the fact that we have to have salt. But now we're going to learn now really why is the salt so important? Why is it so important? Shu bechinas bris melach. Oh, there's a treaty. There's a salt treaty. Hashem made a salt treaty. What is a salt treaty? You ever think of that? What is that? You know what happened? When HaKadosh Baruch Hu was creating the world, and he had the upper waters and the lower waters. Before, all the water was one water. There was one water. There weren't two waters. There was the upper water and the lower water were one. HaKadosh Baruch Hu divided the upper waters to the lower waters. And the lower waters said, but what about, why am I being disconnected from up on high? And Hashem said, don't worry. You're going to be very important, water. You're going to be very important. People are going to need to wash their hands. They'll need the water in the lower world. People are going to need a mikveh. They're going to have to go and they use water from the lower world. But one more thing. When it comes to the Mizbeach, on the Mizbeach there must be salt. And where's the salt going to come from? The water, the sea. Sea salt. Sea salt. Sea salt is very important because that's where Hashem made the treaty. He made a treaty with the salt. Don't worry, salt, water. You're going to be an integral part of the carbon. You can't bring the carbon without having salt. So again, that's the idea that I'm joining the two worlds together is through the salt because the carbon has to have the salt on it. Now, our table is like the Mizbeach, right? Our table is like the altar. And if our table's like the altar, you're supposed to have salt on your table.
So you should have it all the
Leave
time.
salt on all salt on the table.
I told my wife that. She said, no, put the salt away.
Oh, so she'll listen to the class. Then she'll listen to the class. Yeah.
Sure, she'll hear. Yeah.
No, you get a nice salt, one that she likes. You don't leave the bottle of salt on the table.
Right.
But you get something decorative so that she likes it. So
good. Yeah, right.
that she likes it. I mean, I understand. You have the box of the diamond salt or something. Sitting on it. I understand. She didn't like that, but you can do it in a way that You listen. When they had the Mizbeach, they also had a nice thing. They put the salt. They didn't just put a jar of salt on it. Come on. All right. Anyway, so this idea of bris melech, that it's so important that we have the salt. Okay. So that's, again, in other words, that's how we're understanding, we're connecting the upper world with the lower world through the salt. Which is lesson 23. Melech Mammon Chosa. Melech Mammon Chosa. Through the salt, right? You lose the taiva, you lose the desire for having more money. You don't lose your money, you lose the desire to have money. People have such a lust, they have a lust, they need to make more money. They need more money, more money, more money, more money, more money. You know, the tzaddikim used to make sure that they didn't have money from one day to the next. You know that? There were a lot of tzaddikim like that. It's hard for us to understand that today, right? Today we have to have siyana. We have our bank, our nest egg in the bank. You know, we have our money in the bank, and we feel good. But with tzaddikim, they live day by day. They had their parnasa for the day. At the end of the day, they gave away their money. In the morning, whatever came to them, they used that during the day. And again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong. Chas v'shalom, you have money in the bank and you want to have your cushion. Okay, I got that. But there are people that have a desire. They need more money, more money. The guy has $1 million. No, I need $2 million. But
I'm talking billions now.
Now, 1 billion is not enough, right? 1 billion is not enough. I need 2, 3, 4 billion. Yeah. That's the desire of money. What's he going to do with $1 billion? What can anyone do with $1 billion? What can you do with it? What can he do with it? I need 2 of them? He has enough money for himself, his children, his grandchildren. With $1 billion, what's he going to do with it? How much can you spend already? The taiva, so salt will help us with that lust for money. Not that you don't need money, but the lust, that I need more, that lust. Huh?
The story about the Breslov from the Shoah.
Yeah.
So when the Nazis came, they ran away to somewhere. So Breslov said to them, "Don't take any food with you. We're relying on my father's Baruch was going to provide us with food." They went into the forest, and they're in the forest, him and his whole family. And so somebody a Jew comes into the forest. He says, "Listen, I was going to make a chasana. I have all this food. The Nazis came, and I'm going to do this food, so please
Eat.
Okay. So everybody said, eat as much as you want. Breslov says to his family, eat as much as you want, but don't keep any food for tomorrow. Don't put anything in your pocket." Okay. So the next day, they're going further in the forest, and somebody else comes also with a bunch of food, and also they had from a chasana, and they said, "Okay, you can have the only thing. I don't have dessert. I have food, I have everything, but I don't have dessert."
No kinuach. Okay.
So the Breslov says to his family, he said, "Did somebody keep anything from yesterday?" The answer says, "I'm asking you again, did somebody keep something from yesterday?" So one of the children said, "Oh, I took some of the dessert, so I should have some."
Now we don't have.
You see, Dad, you don't have dessert.
Yeah. See that? See, that's a beauty, right? That's a beautiful story, right? In other words, we have to really believe that. That if you truly believe that Hashem gives us as achlam be'itai, what I need, that's what we say, right? As achlam, we say, Einei chalelechi zaberu. We look to Hashem. Einei chalelechi zaberu v'ata noisein lahem as achlam be'itai. We say that in Ashrei. Einei chalelechi zaberu. All eyes are looking at Hashem. Then Hashem looks back at us and he says, "Oh, you're asking for food? You realize it comes from me?" He gives them in the right time when they need it. He gives it in the right time. So that's what he's saying with the brisker Rav. Don't take anything for tomorrow. You need your bracha. This is your bracha for today. Don't keep it for tomorrow. Tomorrow you get a new bracha. Yeah, beautiful. Ikar kedushas ha'tzadik. The way the main kedusha of the tzaddik, and we're all considered tzaddikim. Kulam tzaddikim. So we can all do this. We're supposed to connect, to realize we're always connected up on high. We're always connected on the next world. It's not that we're just down here. We're always connected up on high because we have the chelik haneshama that comes from on high. We have a chelik haneshama that's always up on high. So of course I'm connected on high. Kikol b'shamayim u'v'oretz, as it says, Kikol b'shamayim u'v'oretz. Right? Everything is up in heaven and in earth. Kikol do tzaddik. When it says kikol, that is considered the tzaddik. Now, which is in lesson 23 in the Likutey Moran, the Rebbe explains that. Here we go. That was what we just said before. That's why every sacrifice had to have salt. They didn't say, it's bad for the salt, you'll have high blood pressure. No. Every sacrifice had to have salt. Don't, you have to always have the salt there. This treaty that Hashem made with the lower world, with the lower waters. Because again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu he has his deals that he makes, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu keeps the deals. He keeps the deals. He makes a deal, he keeps the deal, right? So he made a deal with the lower water, right? He made a deal with the lower water. He doesn't want the lower water coming back to him saying, hey, Hashem, hey, you told me, and now they're not doing it. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, no. Make sure you follow this treaty that I made with the salt, with the water, because of the salt, and make sure you're always constantly doing that. Takriv melach. Ki kol al kol karbanecha takriv melach. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu is adamant that we put salt on every sacrifice. Now we understand why. Because it's reinforcing the treaty that Hashem made with the salt. It reinforces it. Ki kvar mevayesh ayidei HaKabanais, through the Kabanais, Nichlolim in its kashruna el yoina halamais el yoinim lamata v'tachtainim lamala. And we understand the concept when it comes to a carbon. We're connecting the upper world together with the lower world. Okay? Nichlolim in the kashruna el halamais el yoinim lamata v'tachtainim lamala. The whole idea of the Beis HaMikdash was this idea to connect the lower world with the upper world with the lower world. That was the headquarters. That's where it happened. The connection of the upper world with the lower world happened over there. That's why it's at your table that you eat your bread, because you're doing the same thing. You understand? In other words, the Beis HaMikdash, the premise of the Beis HaMikdash was to connect the upper world with the lower world. Now, when I'm at my table, and I dip my bread into the salt, what I'm doing is I'm taking something from this world, dipping it into the salt, which is the treaty that Hashem made with the lower waters, right? Which is the same way it was on the Mizbeach, and then I can connect myself to that place, that Yama Chochma, that place of the Matnas Chinam, that's up on high, that place of the free gifts. That HaKadosh, when we look at Hashem gives us everything, because we don't say, hey, Hashem, I did this and now you owe me. No. We always look at Hashem, we ask Hashem, please, Hashem, I know I have a lot of shortcomings, but please, I need a matnas chinam. Please give me a free gift. You don't come to Hashem ever like Moshe Rabbeinu. He came to Hashem and he was davening to Hashem and begging Hashem. He came as a vo'as chanan. It was a free gift. He says, give me a free gift. Let me ask you something. Was there ever a Jew that had more merits than Moshe Rabbeinu? No. And he says, Hashem, give me a free gift. So what do we have to say? And therefore it's incumbent upon us to bring salt on every carbon, to include salt with every sacrifice. All of this is through this treaty that Hashem made with the lower waters with the salt. Okay, that's the idea of Samach Aleph. Now he's going to continue. Now watch this. Valkein Samach Beis 62. Valkein Ikra Achila He Pas Bamelech. The main the main staple of our diet. The main staple of our diet is what? Is to have bread and salt. Bread with salt. It's not just bread. It's bread with salt. Kimay Shamru, as it says, Kachi darkei shel Torah pas b'melech toichel. It says in Pirkei Avos, right? Perik Vov, Mishnah Dalet, okay? Pas b'melech toichel. Eat your bread with salt. Ki lechem umelach heim bechinas achas. Wait a second. Bread and salt are really one. Did you realize that? Bread and salt are one unit. Ki ois yois lechem, because the letters of lechem, which is lamed, ches, mem, umelach, mem, lamed, ches, shovin, kamuva. They're equal. They're equal. Now, I'll tell you something very interesting. We dip the bread into the salt 3 times. You ever realize you do that?
No.
You don't do it 3 times?
No, I didn't know that.
No, you dip it in 3 times.
Oh.
Why? Because what's 23? What's 26 times 3?
72.
78.
78.
78. Excellent, excellent. Lechem. What's the gematria of lechem?
78.
78. 78. If you take the bread and you dip it into the salt 3 times, you're dividing the lechem, the melach, into 3, showing that Hashem is there. Yud Kei Vav, 26 is Yud Kei Vav Kei, the chesed, right? Is the chesed. Is showing that in the din, the salt, there's really chesed. Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Parsha this week. Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. That the din and Hashem is really one. You realize that? In other words, the melach, the salt, is din. Judgment. Salt. It's salty, right? The bread is sweet, it's nice, it's tasty. That's chesed. So I take the chesed, I dip it into the salt to mitigate the judgment. What's the greatest way to mitigate the judgment? To show in the judgment is Yud Kei Vav Kei, is Hashem. So therefore I dip it into the salt 3 times. Ki balechem nelamim kol hatamim sheba'olam. Look at this. Balechem nelamin kol hatamim. In bread you have all different tasty things. All the tastes of the world is in the bread. Umuva b'svarim, and in the svarim it's brought b'shem ha'mechakrim shekol hatamim shebechol ha'macholim sheba'olam heim al yedei ha'melach shema'oirav b'har kavosam shehu yisoid hergesh tamim. Everything in the world that has a nice taste because it has salt in it. How do you like that? How do you like that? And then they'll tell you, no, don't eat salt. Don't include salt. Right? I always used to wonder, I used to wonder, my wife likes to bake and this and that. So she's always putting salt in, let's say she's making cookies, right? She's making chocolate chip cookies, right? So she puts salt in there. I learned this, that's why you're putting salt in there. I didn't understand that. I said, well, you're making it sweet, so why are you putting in the salt? It brings out the flavor.
Brings out the taste.
Brings out the taste. Brings out the flavor. Makes you taste it better because there's salt in there.
Yeah.
Try putting salt on watermelon.
Oh, there we go.
It's fantastic.
Salt
Fantastic.
on watermelon.
It makes it sweeter. It's counterintuitive, but it absolutely works. My grandfather always did that. I do it too. It's fantastic.
You put a little salt on it.
Put a lot of salt on it.
A lot of salt.
Salt the watermelon and eat it. It's great. You'll see a difference.
Amazing. Wow, look at that. You see what we're learning here? So even you're telling me, so he was saying on prepared foods.
Yeah.
Now you're telling me that even on, so can I do that on my apple too?
I've never done it. But
I don't know. We bought this melon that's I'm going to try and put some salt on it because it doesn't have much flavor. See if it brings up.
Oh, you never know, right?
It may not, if it's not there to start with, it may not bring it up. But
you never know. Okay, try. Okay. Huh? What did you say?
Sunday what happens.
Oh, well, to be continued, right? You'll let us know. Okay. Ukefi shinoi Tziurei chelkei hamelach shebahem keinu shinoi tamim. And the same way you could take the melach and turn it into lechem, right? You could take the letters of melach, turn it into lechem. You can mix up the letters and make other things also. That's the way it works. That's the secret behind it. Fascinating. B'chol zeh machmas shemelach b'sharshay gavoya miyai. That's because salt is very, very lofty. Did you hear that? Did you know that? I remember, you know, I know my dear Rebbe, Reb Chaim Kramer. I know him for about 26 years now, Baruch Hashem. And I remember the first time he came, I met him. It was we made a Malava Malka. He came to my house in Woodmere back then. It was amazing. And the first thing he did, he walked in, he said, "Where's the salt?" I didn't know him at all. I didn't know him. I just met him he came in. He said, "Where's the salt?" Where's the salt?
Yeah, it's been there ever since.
The salt's been there. No, anywhere he goes, the table. Where's the salt? No, he mamish. Ki bris kirusa la melech, because the word bris is like the word melach, right? Because the Kodesh Baruch Hu made, he was kairis the bris. He formed that bris, like I told you before, with the lower waters. He made that treaty, right? He forged a bris with the lower waters during the Sheishis Yemei Bereshis, when he was creating the world. V'yehi mavdil b'mayim l'mayim. Hey, I like that. And here, yehi rakia b'soicha mayim. There was the firmament was amongst the water. V'yehi mavdil b'mayim l'mayim. And Hashem made a separation between the waters. You see that? He made a separation between the waters. Sheyu hamayim tachtoinim u'boichin. The lower water started to cry. Hey, why'd you leave me out? Like Moshe Rabbeinu said to Hashem, everyone's going into Eretz Yisrael, but you're leaving me out? The water was crying. Why are you leaving me out? Anan be'inan l'mehevi koda malka. He says, shekoras lahem bris sheyu oilim l'korban b'nisuch hamayim b'chag uvamelech. And we had the holy water libations on the Yom Tov of Sukkot, right? Normally there were wine libations on the Mizbeach, right? But on the Yom Tov of Sukkot, there were water libations, right? They did the water pour, they poured water. So Hashem said on the holiday of Simcha, right? The whole idea of Sukkot is the V'samachta v'chagecha is really going on Sukkot. That's the Yom Tov that Simcha is the most important of all. All of the holidays you have to be b'simcha. But Sukkot is the most, and you're using then what? Not wine, water. Water. So Hashem said, I'm going to, on the best of the holidays, the holiday of Sukkot, which shows you that there was the Ananei HaKovod, right? What's the whole idea of the Sukkah? You have the Ananei HaKovod. You have the clouds of glory that were protecting us, right? That Hashem brought the cloud of glory down to this world. Again, the connection between the two worlds, the upper world and the lower world. That's the Yom Tov of Sukkot. Right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings the cloud of glory down to us in this world. Here, in this world. That's HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the same idea. And then Hashem says the melach that's going to be on the karbanos, that's going to be there, that's again going to bring the two worlds together. So Hashem is showing the water, the lower water that cried to him, why are you leaving me out? Don't worry about it. You're always going to be connected up on high. Yes, you'll be lower, but you are going to be connected up on high. All right? Shemakrivin kol hakabanas ki arakia hamavdil bein mayin le'elyonim le'mayin tachtoinim ze bechinas tzaddik kamuva shemakayim elyonim betachtoinim kol echad bechinas aye meloi chevoidai. As we said that the whole idea that tzaddik teaches us and teaches everybody meloi cholaoretz kevoidai. No matter where you go in the world, no matter what you do, no matter where you go, you will always know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there because His glory fills the entire entire world. There is nowhere you can go in the world that doesn't have HaKadosh Baruch Hu's glory. This is what the tzaddikim teach, that Hashem from up on high is down in this world everywhere. In the beginning, the lower waters were crying. The water didn't know. Hey, wait a second. I can be part of revealing God in the world? The water didn't know that. The water was thinking I'm down here now, so I'm disconnecting from Hashem. The water didn't know that. It was crying. It thought, you're disconnecting me from the glory of Hashem. Why are you disconnecting me? That's why he's crying. But I want to be in front of you, the king. I want to be together with you, Hashem. The water's crying. Why are you taking me away? I was just happy we were all together. Now you're keeping me away. Same with Moshe Rabbeinu. It's on the other side of the water. The other side of the water, right? Moshe Rabbeinu is on the other side of the water. He's trying to get over the water.
Where's the way from?
Jordan River.
Oh, the water, okay. Yeah.
Water. Yeah. And he's crying, I want to get over the water. That's the tzaddik, right? Okay. Ad shepiyasam, until Hashem appeased the water. Hashem Yitbarach v'koras lahem bris melech. He forged for the salt, for the water, this treaty of the salt. Sha'idei zeh melech, through this melech, bechinas kedushas etzadik yiskul is korev al gabeim ezbeich la'alis korban la'ela li'ela. And through the salt, the sacrifices were able to go up higher and higher and higher and be very lofty. The sacrifice went up higher and higher because they put the salt on it. That was the fuel. The salt was the fuel to bring the carbon up on high. In other words, if you didn't put the salt on it, it didn't have the fuel. Right? You have your car. You have to put either electric in there, you put gas in there, you put something in there to make it go, right? If you don't put it in, it's not going to work. You want your carbon to be able to go up higher, put salt on it. It's amazing. Put salt on the carbon. Watch it go up. Unbelievable. Because again, Hashem made that treaty. And Hashem doesn't want the water to come back to him and say, hey, you made a deal with me, but now they're not doing that, right? That was why the whole problem with Eli, the children of Eli, they weren't doing the karbanis the right way. So Hashem got very angry at them. Wait a second, I made a treaty with the soul, everything, and you're not following it. Then he got angry at them. They wound up dying, and then the Plishtim wound up taking the Aron into cap or whatever. Okay, but carbon le'ela. Ki adarabba, ikar is galus kivoid malchusay hu daika yedei tachtainim. The way you show Hashem's greatest glory is through us down here. Hashem finds the greatest glory, the greatest honor, the greatest the delight Hashem has when we recognize Him down here. More than anything else, more than anything He did in creation. All His myriads and myriads and myriads of angels. The upper angels, lower angels, all the angels. Hashem doesn't care about any of them. You, any Jew that can reveal Hashem in this world, brings Hashem more nachas than everything else. It's fascinating. Ki adrab, ikar is galus kivoid malchusay hu daika yedei tachtainim, through us down here. Through us. So don't think anytime you do any little thing and you're revealing Hashem, realizing Hashem is with me in this place, that brings the greatest honor to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because he's so lofty, but yet he can come down in this world. That shows how great he is. That he can come down in this world and be with us in this world. Not when he's up on high. That he comes in this world, and when we reveal that he's in this world, that's the greatest thing that we can do. Because specifically the oretz, that's why we make the bracha hamotzi lechem min haaretz. What's the bracha you make? Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Oh, in the ground, in the dirt, Hashem is found even there. He's found even in the oretz. He's found even in the dirt. We learned about that. V'al ikiris kashris v'klolis, and that's the main way we can make that connection, and that's how we can make that unification, and through this idea of al kein kol ha'macholim shehem ha'mechayin es adam lekasha nefesh shemaguf. That's why all food is what helps be mekasha, that connects the nefesh to the guf, the soul to the body. Food helps connect the soul to the body. Right? If you don't have food, you don't live. Right? You want to keep your soul, you need to have food in order to keep that connection of the soul together with the guf. That's the idea. You have it right there. In your guf itself, in your body itself, you have the lofty soul in the body. So you have the connection, the upper world connected to the lower world in each person. Because you have the neshama from up on high in the guf down here. So here's your connection of the upper world with the lower world. Kol ha'argoshas tamam hu al yedei chelkei hamelach shabahem. All of the taste, everything comes out through the salt. That's what's in there. So in other words, you put salt into something, you'll have a greater taste. Like Rav David was saying, take your watermelon, you want to taste it better, put the salt in there. Put the salt in there and you'll taste it better. Salt helps bring out the flavor. It's fascinating. Ki ikar hachiyas hamizkasher hanefesh shemaguf hu shehu klolius hanal hu al yedei bechinas bris melach, through the bris melach. Now he says, bezel bechinas lechem, and that's the idea of lechem, bread. Ki ban lechem nelomim kol hatamim sheba'olam. In lechem, you have all the tastes of all the world. Why? Because there's salt in there. You're putting salt. Oh, and salt gives everything else the better taste. So hence, the bread has all the tastes of all the world because you have salt, you're including salt within it. These are the different types of parts of salt. Therefore, salt and bread are very, very connected. They're very, very shy. They're very, very connected one to another. And therefore the rabbi said, whenever you make the bread, when you're making the breaking of the bread, the betzia, you break, like they say, you break bread. Isn't that what they call it? They break bread. So the betzia, when you're breaking bread, you cut the piece of bread. So you take that piece of bread and you dip it into the salt. And now you know you dip it in 3 times to reveal the Yud Kei Vav Kei, because 78 divided by 3 is 26. 26 times 3 is 78. Right? So if you do it like that, you dip it in 3 times. 1 time is Yud Kei Vav Kei. 2 times Yud Kei. 3 times, that's Lechem. That's Melach. And there you show that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in everything. He's in this world, the next world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the same in the Chesed as he is in the Din. It's one Hashem, and that's the reason why we always have to have salt. And in Mitzvah Hashem tonight, when you make the Lechem Mishnah and you take out the bread, so make sure you try to dip the bread into the salt 3 times, remembering that Hashem is in there to remind us HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with us in our Suda, specifically at the table, because the table is Daimel and Mizbeach, and that's why in the table you're supposed to have salt, because on the Mizbeach there was salt, and every carbon had to have salt, and that's what gave it the fuel to bring it up, to let it go up higher and higher to the upper worlds. So to us, when we dip the bread into the salt, we mitigate the judgment. Via doing that, we also bring better taste to everything at the table, and that's a wonderful idea. Any questions on this, or we're confused that salt is very important, right? And why is it important? Because Hashem made that treaty with the salt. When the salt was crying, why did you separate me from the other side? And I believe the connection of this week's Parsha, when everyone has decided that they can go into Eretz Yisrael except for Moshe, and Moshe Rabbeinu is crying. Same idea. It's unbelievable. Moshe Rabbeinu is crying. Why not me? Okay. We discussed that in the beginning of the class. Okay. Now, we're learning Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, and we're in Hilchas Dinei Kriyas Hat Sefer Torah, right? We're learning the laws of reading from the Sefer Torah. Okay, here we go.
10.
Yeah. Okay, 10. Imakayin oimed. Oh, here we go. Now we were talking yesterday. Okay, so yesterday we were talking about the idea of the ranking of the karbanis, right? We have the ranking of the karbanis, right? We said that the kohen goes first, Levi is second, Levi Yisrael is third. We said that if there's no kohen, then it's not important that they bring up a Levi. You don't have to bring up a Levi. You can bring up a Yisrael. But then you don't, and then the second one doesn't have to be a Levi. Don't think it has to be a Levi. It doesn't have to be a Levi. It was a Yisrael. And the third one, of course, doesn't have to be. And then we said if you have two different Kahanim, one Kayan's a greater tzaddik, so then bring that Kayan. Okay, but either way, it makes no difference. That's the way we do it. Now we said, im a Kayan oime b'kriyas shema or birchas kriyas shema. Now wait a second. We learned that if you're in birchas kriyas shema or kriyas shema, you can't break. There's no break. You can't break. We learned that, right? We learned the laws. When you're in Birchas Kriyas Shema, you have to go straight. You can't break. Like when it came to Psukei de Zimra, right? In Psukei de Zimra, you could skip things, right? You could skip things. We're not getting into that now. But when it came to Kriyas Shema, Birchas Kriyas Shema, you can't skip anything. And now he's in the Kriya, or he's saying Kriyas Shema. Umikol shekain im oimed betfila shmoin esrei. Or the guys in Miller saying shmoin esrei. So he's saying a longer Shmon Esrei. He got one of these shuls that they go zoom, 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 and he's still saying Shmon Esrei. Now they say, okay, Koyet, but he's Miller Shmon Esrei. He can't leave a Miller Shmon Esrei. And we said yesterday, that the Kohen, if the Kohen's there, he can't be mevatel on his honor. The Kohen can't say, well, you know what, Hashem, guys, I'd rather you give the aliyah to somebody else. Don't give the aliyah to me. He can't say that. He can't do that. The Kohen can't say. The Kohen can't say. My rabbi's here, so I'd rather you give him the aliyah. Doesn't matter. I don't care if your rabbi's not a Kohen. You can't give him the aliyah.
The rest of us can say, no, give it to somebody else.
You can say it, but the Kohen, it has to be a Kohen.
Yeah.
No, the Kohen can. It has to be a Kohen. One Kohen can say, I don't want to give it to the other Kohen. That's fine. Okay. But it has to be a Kohen. We're adamant that a Kohen has to go up first. Afilu ein sham kohen acher. Let's say there is no kohen.
No other kohen.
No other kohen there. Let's say there's no other kohen. Ein kohen I say we don't call him. We don't call him. Ein kohen I say we don't call the kohen because he's in a place where he can't stop. Why am I going to call him? In other words, so the gabbai has to pay attention here. If there's only one kohen, the gabbai has to be paying attention. Where is this kohen up to? Is he ready to go? Is he ready to get an aliyah? Right? Did you know that, Reb Shalom? Yeah. Okay. You don't have to wait for him. Because if he's a Miller Birchas Kriyas Shema or he's a Miller Shmon Esrei, it's like he's not there. It's like he's not there. He can't break. He can't do anything. He's not there. Mishum Tircha de Tzibura. So therefore, because I'm not going to make the Tzibur wait till he finishes Shmon Esrei, till he finishes Shema and Shmon. We're not going to make him do that, so therefore we don't have to. Ella, Kohen, Levi, or Yisrael. Then the same premise goes, call a Levi or Yisrael. Right? There's one Kohen, he's a Miller Shema, he's a Miller Birchas Kriyas Shema, he's a Miller Shema Esrei. He's disqualified because of the state that he's in right now. Right? He's disqualified because he can't do it. So then we can call the Levi Yisrael. Ein Oimrim. So normally we said yesterday, if there's no kohen, you say, I'm calling ein kan kohen, I'm calling bim kohen kohen, right? I'm calling bim kohen or ein kan kohen, right? There's no kohen here, and I'm calling up the Yisrael because there's no kohen. You don't say that because he is there, he's still there.
Oh, you don't say that.
You don't say that now. Yesterday we said, but did you not have Absalom? But that's what never happened, right? No, but it's a nice thing to. Okay, so we know. Elo oimim Levi or Yisrael b'mekayim kayin. You say you don't say ein kan kayin. You say b'mekayim in the place of the kayin. You don't say ein kan kayin. There's no kayin here. B'mekayim. I'm putting the Levi in Yisrael in the place of the kayin. Ubediviyavid im karohu. What happens if they called him im oimei b'kriyas shema oy b'birchaseha? If he's a Miller Kriyas Shema or the brachas of Kriyas Shema, Oyla Mavarech es HaBracha, he can go up. So if the Gabbai didn't know, The Gabbai didn't know. Now this is on the Kohen. The Gabbai didn't realize. He's sitting down. He's saying Kriya Shema, right? But we said, wait a second. If he's in the middle of Shema Yisrael and Baruch Shem, then he can't go up. Because he said there, you're never allowed to break. So here the Chiddush is that even if it's in Birchas Kriya Shema, right? Because even if it's in Birchas Kriya Shema, or he's in the middle of Shema, right? He can go up and make the bracha. Aval lo yikra im koirei ella yishma. Aval lo yikra im hakoirei ella yishma. He doesn't read along with the Baal Korei. Normally you read along with the Baal Korei. Right? The Baal Korei is reading and you read along with him. He doesn't do that because he's in a place, he'll make the bracha that he can do, but he doesn't read. He can look at the words. He can be mechaven to the words, but he can't say the words. If it's possible for him, if he's in the middle of a topic, or maybe he's in a paragraph in Shema, finish the paragraph, finish the topic, finish the idea that he's in, and then go up. Don't just go up in the middle if you can. Afilu karo lo yala. Here's the chiddush. So if it's in Birchas Kriya Shema, which we said you can't break, if it's in middle of Kriya Shema where you can't break, but if they call the kohen up because we don't want to embarrass him, right? We don't want to embarrass him. He can go up. He can make the bracha. He doesn't read with the tzliach. He doesn't read with the Baal Korei, with the Torah reader. He doesn't read together with him, but he just listens. He listens. He can be mechaven. He can have in mind what he's saying, but he doesn't say the words. But if he's in the Shema Nesrei, all bets off. Right. All bets off. Or we said, if he said go al Yisrael. He said he's in Birchas Kriya Shema. He says, "Go al Yisrael." Oh, no, you're not going up because we said no break between Go al Yisrael and Shmon Esrei.
Like he's in Shemon Esrei.
Yeah, that's it. There's no break. Or if he's in Shema, he said Shema and Baruch Shem. No break. Utfilas elekai nitzor yala. But if he said I'm Baruch Sam Yisrael Basholom, and now he's in the paragraph elekai nitzor, the last paragraph in the Shmon Esrei. We have the Osei Shalom, right? If he's in that paragraph, but he said, I'm Shalom, then he can go up. He can go up. If he said the last bracha, because that's not a bracha, that's an extra tefillah. What happens if he's in the middle of Psukei de Zimra? He's in the middle of Psukei de Zimra. If there's no other kohen, you call him anyway. Because we said in Birchas Kriya Shema, in Psukei de Zimra, you can break, you can have spaces, you can do different things. There's more room of leniency when it comes to Psukei de Zimra than it is when you're saying Birchas Kriya Shema, of course, Shmon Esrei. Okay, Ach lo yikra im hakoirei. He again doesn't read with the Baal Korei. Again, you understand this? Because again, if he said Baruch Sha'amar, so again, he shouldn't be reading other things. He has to say he's in this section of tefillah. So still, even though he can definitely go up, no problem. But don't read with him again because again, you don't want to have a hefsek. The bracha is not going to be considered a hefsek, but the reading of the Torah is going to be considered a hefsek. Okay. If there's somewhere else, also the same idea goes with Levi. Okay, so again, you have the Kohen. Let's say the Kohen, but now you have the Levi. Now he's the second guy, right? The Levi's sitting there. So now, what's the rules with the Levi?
So it's the same as the Kohen.
Well, if the Levi is in middle of Shmon Esrei, then you're going to call the Kohen again. The Kohen will read the second. He'll get the second aliyah. Even the Levi is there. But if he's in middle of Shmon Esrei, but if the Levi is in middle of Psukei de Zimra, in middle of Birchas Kriya Shema, we said, but not by Gal Yisrael, and he can go up. Again, the same idea. He doesn't read with the Baal Korei. He doesn't read together with the Baal Korei. He makes the bracha, and that's the way we do it. Okay? So I wish everyone we should have a wonderful Shabbos. It's Shabbos Nachamu Ami Yoim Elekechem, to realize that all of the din in the world, All of the din in the world, even the din wants to bring nechama to us. Even the din wants to bring nachamu, ame. Even the din, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should bring us a lot of nechama. We should have a Shabbos of Sheket, B'li Azok, without the sirens again, right? We always get our sirens. What happened last week, Shalom, over here, when they were in the middle of Kabbalah Shabbos?
Last week.
It was middle of Kabbalah Shabbos.
Yeah.
So everyone went into the
Some people wanted to go in the stairs, some people stayed in the shul, some people went to the mamad.
whatever, it worked out.
It was a big schut that the chutim had. We didn't have to take Kriyat Shema again because it was after the.
Oh, see that?
What was that?
The chutim, the what do you call it? The terrorists, when they sent that rocket in, because we had to, at the 10 minutes later, they had to wait 10 more minutes because they had the siren. So that put them in the time of Kriya Shema for the night, that they didn't have to repeat Kriya Shema again after. They said it in the right time.
Oh, they did it the right time.
I would say they didn't get a slus because now he didn't get to say Kriya Shema 2 times.
I don't think they thought about that at all.
All right, anyway, okay, Baruch Hashem, we should all call down,